He had gone from Kid Rock to Geek Squad.
Range Wilson.
It was early 2003, and the Colorado Springs economy was in a slump. Living at the party house was fun, but it was not cheap, and at some point, even the best parties have to end. It was time for Yvonne and myself to cut costs. We started looking around for a new place to live. The subtle upside of the economic downturn was that there were plenty of houses for rent at great prices. At first, Jason, the alcoholic x-ray technician, tried to get in on the fun, but I quickly put an end to that idea. I did not need that kind of drama in my life. After some searching, Yvonne and myself found a house to rent just down the street from the health club where I worked. The new house was right next to Ute Valley Park, which has views like this. That's Pikes Peak in the background, which rises to over 14,000 feet above sea level. There are taller mountains in the United States, but not many that are as impressive looking. Just down the road from the new house was another park called Garden of the Gods. Here's another view of Pikes Peak from there. As you can see, there was a tremendous amount of natural beauty in the area. The new house was a perfect spot to work on my creative endeavors, primarily photography and screenwriting. I did some legwork to find photography sites that would work well with models. I also studied up on the business side of photography so that I would have contracts and model releases ready to go when the time was right. I also made steady progress on my first feature-length screenplay, a romantic comedy. As for Yvonne and myself, we continued our own real-life version of a romantic comedy. There were times when she was not around much. She had business assets in Colorado Springs, up in Fort Collins, where her fiancé Joe lived, and down in Albuquerque, where she grew up. Because of the tough economy, all of those assets were in danger, and she had to spend lots of time traveling back and forth to try to keep everything afloat. But when Yvonne was around, we settled into our own unique version of domestic bliss. Many nights we would have dinner and a bottle of wine, and then play Scrabble or watch a movie. We generally avoided any physical intimacy to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but there were frequent exceptions to this rule. When I look back over my journal, there were times when the relationship got more than a little strange. For example, one day Yvonne came back into town after being away for several weeks. She and I went to lunch at the Broadmoor, headed back to the new house, and made love twice. Later that day, Joe showed up, and we all went out to dinner at P.F. Chang's. The next morning, Joe left town, Yvonne and myself made love 2 more times, and then I drove her to the airport so she could fly to Albuquerque. Somehow we all kept living in the moment, and it never fell apart. In fact, in the spirit of going with the flow, I actually joined Joe and Yvonne on one trip up to Fort Collins. Along the way, we stopped at the house of Chris, the male stripper. He had gotten himself a conservative haircut, shaved all his facial hair off, and gotten a traditional job. It was really something to see the transformation. He had gone from Kid Rock to Geek Squad. As for Yvonne, Joe, and myself, we had a great time together as always. We went out to dinner at their favorite restaurant, went out to see a band at a local bar afterwards, and then crashed at their house at Fort Collins overnight. The next day, over Joe's objections, Yvonne purchased a Ford Bronco that wasn't even running because she saw the ad in the classifieds and thought it would be an amazing deal. She packed it full of stuff from their house, arranged for it to be towed down to Colorado Springs, and had it parked in front of our new house there. That Ford Bronco never moved again. Yvonne never even unpacked it. Eventually, after we moved out, the landlord called me, and I told him he could just have it towed away. Which shows that impulsiveness is not always a good thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. There were still more adventures to be had in Colorado Springs. Tune in next time to find out what happened when one of my personal training clients offered to give me $200,000. Until then, like, comment, share, and/or subscribe. My name is Range Wilson, and I'll see you next time.